Welcome again to the S.E.M podcast. Jack Bryce and Zach Hewlett are here tonight, and we're joined by our good friend, Tyrell Cellan. Tyrell, it's so good to have you on the podcast finally after a few months since you've reached out, but we're so glad to have you finally. Where in the world are you calling from tonight?
I'm in Idaho Falls, Idaho.
Idaho Falls. Very good. Well, good. Tyrell told us as we were getting ready to start this that he's an avid listener. He's listened to most of the podcast over the last 12 months or so. And so we're super excited to hear his story of his service in Scotland. Tyrell, to start us off, tell us some more about your experience of getting your mission call and your reaction in getting that call to Scotland.
So when I got my call, I grew up doing roofing. I started roofing at 7 years old and roofed up until the day I left for my mission. And
Thanks.
so we got a phone call from my mom over my dad's cell phone saying, "Hey, your mission call came," and she like wanted us to ditch work right then and head home. And like I was like, all things come in time, so we waited till the end of the day because we had a job to finish.
Sure.
And so around after dinner, I opened up, and when I opened it up, the first thing that I saw on the page, about 3/4 of the way down, was the word Scotland. Like the very first word of the paper, and there it is. And so I was like, okay, now that I already know where I'm going, now to read off all the information to everybody.
So you saw that before you told anybody anything, and you had to have been jumping on the inside for sure, right?
Right. I was debating and going, I wonder if I should accidentally say the wrong place.
That would have been a terrible practical joke. I'm sure your
Right?
mom and dad would have absolutely hated that.
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
But so I grew up on a horse ranch and had like 40 horses at one time, and only like 4 or 5 of them were ever rideable at once.
Okay.
So the rest were all just crazy wild. So grew up on a farm, changed that kind of sculpted the major outlook of my mission. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Which part of the world were you living in growing up?
So I grew up in Pocatello, Idaho, which is only like 40 miles south of here. It's 2 hours north of Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Very cool.
So vacation, just drive down to Salt Lake and stay in the Hampton Inn next to the temple. It's good.
Perfect. That sounds like an awesome vacation. Cool. Tyrell, what was the timeline of when you entered the MTC?
So I got my mission call in mid-November of 2007. I was supposed to report to the mission or to the airport to go to the MTC on February 8th. And so I got into the mission home February 8th. And random funny thing. So before getting to the mission home, the day before, the last movie that I'd watched was Planet of the Apes from like the 1980s.
Really?
Yep. It was just like, and of all movies, had DirecTV, so like a million channels to choose from, and yep, Planet of the Apes. To this day, I still wonder why on earth all movies, really?
Yeah, I mean, with all those choices, that must be
Right.
something that has stumped you for some time. But sometimes you just watch what's on, right?
Yep, exactly.
That's great. So you went through February 08. Did you get home February 2010?
So I left February 8th, 2008. I got home January 27th of 2010 because there's like 6 days overlay or leeway there, so that you don't stay longer than the visa allows, because I guess that makes it really difficult for the church to get more visas without being problematic to other people.
Okay. So, yes, I'm sure there's a rhyme to the reason for sure. Right. That's awesome.
I did the full 2 years. Really, it was January that I came back, but I really did the full 2 years.
Yeah, it's all technicality at that point. That's for sure.
Right.
Well, good. So take us to January of 2010 and tell us what life has unfolded for you in the last 14 and a half years.
So got off my mission, came home, and went right back to roofing. I was literally roofing within like 4 hours of waking up the very next day. So
Oh my
life
word.
went, yeah,
Right back.
they had a job specifically designed to my expertise waiting for me, which was folding and wrapping metal and then doing metal work on the roof. So they had their all work, like no rest time or anything. It's like, all right, you're here, get back to work. And so worked for about 8 months, saved up a bit to go to college. I was supposed to go to BYU, but my dad convinced me to go to ISU.
Okay.
That's
Different
Idaho
experience.
State. Yeah, so that's Idaho State University. Now that actually stands for, when choosing a college, ISU actually stands for I screwed up. And so friends don't let friends go to ISU. That's all there is to it. That is all there is to it.
Oh my gosh.
And,
I've never heard that before. That's absolutely
it is-
hilarious.
It is a terrible, absolutely terrible college or
Oh,
university, if it can even be called that. So word to the wise: if your mission president tells you to go to BYU, do it.
Oh
But,
my gosh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I went through the computer IT program and looked around for jobs in that, and they wanted you to have like 5 years of experience and pay you $11 an hour in 2010,
Wow.
which was a terrible choice of career. So I changed career paths in the ISU because that was a terrible career path. So I switched over to law enforcement and got a degree in law enforcement. Got certified in patrol, detention, and reserve. Applied everywhere in Idaho, and it was like the most terrible time to try to be a cop in the nation because it was right before the defund the police thing, and it was like the Marine Corps' 4-year and 8-year let out, and it was the very beginning of the California exodus. And so the competition to be a police officer was beyond fierce. So you'd show up and they're like, all right, we're going to do a PT test. And here's all the guys at the police academy running, I did 1.5 miles in 8 minutes. I'm doing great. And then, there's the Marine Corps. We did it in 4. It's like going, all right, well, we see who's getting the only 2 spots available. And then, apply at another place, and they're like, all right, you see the other person, you're like, so where are you from? He's like, oh, I was a SWAT team leader down in Southern California. And you're like going, well, I'm here for a participation award. Needless to say, who got the job.
Oh
And
man,
so
challenging.
law enforcement didn't work out for me. And so we ended up moving up to Idaho Falls because that's where my wife's family is, and worked at a cabinet shop for about 5 or 6 years, building cabinets and granite countertops for everybody under the sun. Then I worked installing security cameras systems all over everywhere for a couple different companies, and that was a lot of fun. That's kind of along my expertise of working through construction my entire life. But again, it didn't pay very well. And so then the whole COVID thing hit, and, the people couldn't afford to buy security systems because, they didn't have work because they were stuck at home. So got laid off there. And then I got a job at FedEx, which turns out FedEx, because they're such a loving company, they subcontract out all their work to different companies. So I don't actually work for FedEx, and so it's subcontracted, so the other employers don't have to give out benefits. So,
oh boy,
I've been doing that for coming up on 3 years now, but it pays like double the last job I had. So it's great. It's good. It allows me, lots of time to drive, listen to podcasts. I found out I can binge listen to the Book of Mormon in 4 days. Done
Oh,
that.
man.
Gosh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've done that about 3 or 4 times over the last 3 years. Started listening to General Conference at the most recent one. Listening to it in reverse order. I'm like clear back to 1995 now,
That's amazing. Oh,
and just because from about 8:30 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night, it's just, and what am I listening to next?
yeah. We're glad that you picked us as one of your playlist participants and that you've listened to our conversations, which is great, Tyrell. That's cool. So you said you're married. Any kiddos in the family?
Yeah, I got married about 2 years after getting back from my mission. So about what was it? It was August 3rd of 2012.
Okay.
We have 3 kids. They're all girls. 8-year-old, a 6-year-old. She might be 7 now, and a 2-year-old.
Very nice.
So got third grade, first grade, and still going to daycare, which is just the reason why I'm bald. Yep,
I love it.
because listening to President Frederick or Sister Frederick's talks, every time it was daycare's a crime. Now all my kids are in daycare.
Jeez.
Yep.
So sorry. That's
And
tough, tough.
yeah, that's where my wife works, and so it's the only daycare in the city that you can take your kids there for free while getting paid to work there. So
Oh, that's
everywhere else, want you to pay for child services, which is like ridiculously expensive. So
cool. Yeah. Man. Well, Tyrell, again, we really appreciate you making time for us tonight, and it's not without people like you that make this possible amongst your busy schedule. So, take us back to your experience. You can start at the MTC, then just go through areas, companions, and your experiences, and we'll be along for the ride.
all right, so got into MTC. Let's see. So left from Pocatello Airport, flew into Salt Lake. From there, we went from Salt Lake to Georgia, and then had like an hour and a half overlay. Met a couple of missionaries there, several that I served around, which was kind of interesting. But
Cool.
an hour and a half overlay in Georgia, got a Georgia peach slushy before going. So while in Georgia, have their signature dish, right?
That was a good choice.
Yeah.
All the flavors. I was like, hey,
at
insist
Chick-fil-A?
upon itself. It very well might have been. It was a store in the airport. That was a huge airport. You had like a tram system
It is a big
everywhere.
airport.
But then flew into England. I can't remember where it was.
Probably
but anyways,
Manchester, right?
Yeah, that's right. Flew into Manchester. The airplane circled the airport about 15 times, and finally we were able to get off the air place there. And when we got in, like first 10 of us in line were able to go through, hand in our passport. They're like, all right, cool, welcome to the UK, have a nice life. And then we're like waiting on the group, and the rest of them, they like started grilling them with questions like no other. Like where are you planning on staying? Where what's the address of the place that you're going to? What's the color of the building? 100 million questions. They're like, because the location of the MTC isn't really recorded anywhere that's easily accessible in your luggage. And so like one missionary had it and just started sharing it with all the other missionaries.
Oh my gosh.
And so after that humorous debacle, because it's like you get done, you get into a van, and it just takes you where you're supposed to go. It's like, all right, it's there. See ya. But
That's a good point. I
yeah,
don't even remember my own experience at customs as we walked in. I'm pretty sure I just kind of said, "See ya," and I don't even
right.
remember. I must have been so jet lagged that I just was not
Yeah, there's
not aware
11
at all.
hours of
Yeah.
flight time.
Oh my gosh, terrible.
Only thing that declares the gospel, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
I got my life in 2 suitcases over there. Can I go get it, please?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I got
good.
into the MTC. I think it was like nighttime or something, but yeah, I went. They're like, here's what guys stay. At directions where the girls stay. Obviously, there's your room. It's nighttime. Go to bed. So woke up the next day, got dressed. I went down for breakfast in the suit, whatnot, and mid conversation, someone's like, "You realize your tie's on the outside of your suit, right? Suit all buttoned up and tie just like on the outside." It's like, "Yep, jet lag."
Oh man.
And so, then that was the beginning of it. I forgot to cut my hair beforehand, so I was one massively shaggy dog. But like I had hair enough. I could have had a whole afro going, but
Oh my gosh.
but
Straight to
yeah,
the barber
I had
shop?
they actually didn't have the barber come in until like the second week of the whole MTC experience there.
Interesting.
My companion's name, he was Elder Force. He was from there in Salt Lake, and he was going to the Leeds mission.
Okay.
But yeah, he was in the same boat, so we both had these massive side parts. But yeah, it was quite interesting and surreal because they're like, "All right, you're waking up at 7," which for growing up on a horse ranch is like you wake up at 5:30 or whatever. Go feed water to the horses before school. So waking up and set at 7 o'clock, I felt tremendously lazy. And so it's like, all right, so woke up at 5 and I'm like, I got 2 hours to just do absolutely nothing. Okay, I guess I'll catch some more sleep.
That
But
would be a little different, wouldn't it? Goodness.
yeah, going from farm life to all of a sudden just like, and now we're reading scriptures all day long. It was it was quite interesting. And went tracting. They had us, go in groups and whatnot. We met this one lady while tracting, and she said that her best friend was taking lessons and she was kind of wanting to follow along. And so we gave her a Book of Mormon that she didn't have a copy of. Let me just drop my phone. She was like, "I don't have a copy of the Book of Mormon." We're like, "This missionaries had one job." And meanwhile, the other, yeah, how does that work? But anyways, the other missionaries didn't, have that great of luck. So we overheard. I think it was Tyler Monteith. He's been on the podcast earlier, but
Yeah.
they knocked on a door, and I guess the kid opened up the door right as the parent yelled, "Don't open the door!" And the kid, opens the door, and he's like, "I already did." And he's like, as he says that, this cat walks out and walks away, and he's like, "Sick the cat on him."
Jeez.
It's like, I was like, "Wow, this is a whole different ball game here. This is great."
That's true. Very true.
And yeah, so the instructor at the MTC, his name was Brother Goebel, and he had the thickest accent of anybody that I'd ever met before. And so I noticed that anytime that he'd call us out on something, he'd repeat the last phrase that we'd say if it was like off topic. And so I'd randomly quote movies just to annoy him and get him to repeat the phrase in his accent. which
Oh,
was
man.
had a lot of completely intentional fun with that. But
I love that.
yeah, and so the MTC was, I think, 3 weeks long at the time.
Yeah.
They did have the names written on the back of the clocks. We discovered that on about day 3,
Yes.
and there's, you flip over the back, you're like, it can't be that many, and they're just endless names. That thing was covered, and it was everybody's clocks,
Oh, yeah. No stone unturned.
right? And apparently, I had a problem with sleepwalking in the MTC, which I never knew that I had an issue with sleepwalking at all. So, got up at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Apparently, one day, there's no record of it. So, but apparently, got fully dressed and walked around the MTC. The other 3 guys in the room just followed me around, just like
What?
around the MTC at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Just let you go.
Nobody got
Yep.
a camera out or
Yeah.
anything? Come on. This
Right?
is the
I was
age of digital. How did this
Yeah.
not get recorded?
That's how I'm like, there's no record of it. But they didn't let me live that down for the next 2 weeks while there. So I got woke up and drug out of bed because they were annoyed that I'd woke them up at 1 o'clock in the morning getting dressed.
Oh, my
But
gosh.
yeah, I had no idea that I sleptwalked. To this day, I still am unaware whether I do or not.
I wonder if it was just one of those like
Right.
overtired situations, right? Where
Yeah.
your
Yep.
body does things that your mind
Jet
says
lag,
to do,
mass
but you're
anxiety attack.
it could be any of
Who
those
knows, right?
things. Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious.
But yeah, that was interesting.
I bet.
But yeah, from there, then we took a train up to, I believe it was the train. Took the train up to Edinburgh and went up this giant flight of stairs that seemed like it was forever to get out of the train station. Got picked up by I guess the assistants would have been. Drove to the mission home. Got out and the place looked like a castle. I was like, all right, definitely not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
Or in my case, Idaho. But yeah, got there and it was about nighttime again. So I'm like, all right, here's where you guys are all staying, and it was just like sleeping bags that they threw out on the ground. And next day we had they're like, all right, you got a minute and a half to shower. And so there's 2 showers, no divider wall or anything. Just like, all right, shower, 2 by 2 go. and so, yeah, that was a little awkwardly weird, but I guess, okay, you got 20 people going through. Okay, you don't want to take all day, right?
Yeah, I
I don't
guess.
remember much about all the other stuff that went on there. I guess we had to have breakfast at some point. I have no recollection of that. But like, all right, and here's your companions, and like, all right, here's your companion, your trainer. His name's Elder Noble, Mark Noble, and so he had red hair. It was like perfectly done, like military style, and found out that was his personality. And so went from there to I served in Beath, and I was there. That was my first area. I was in Beath for 7.5 months.
Whoa. Wow.
And so Beath is in the absolute middle of nowhere.
It's the
It's like
absolute middle of Paisley and Irving.
Yeah, I was there for like 4 months before I even realized that. Oh yeah, the ocean is only like 5 miles that way. Had no idea.
Yes.
For 4 months, just okay. But half the time I didn't even realize which direction was north until started looking at maps, going, oh, that direction's north. Okay, but that was a interesting thing. So the area is like built in the mountains, so that was kind of an interesting area. We had Beath. So Beath is the name of the area, and it covered Dolrye and Kilmarnock, Beath, and this area called Loch Winnock. And going to Loch Winnock, it was like going on vacation. That because there's like this giant lake and like tourist attraction stuff. And so anytime we went there, it was like going on vacation. So it was really nice, serene landscape kind of stuff built right up the side of a mountain. And it was all foot travel. For the entire 2 years, I only had a vehicle for a total of 3.5 to 4 weeks. Everything else was on foot.
Man.
We did have bikes and we did have bicycles in the Beath apartment or flat. The flat was located in Dolrye, which was right next to the train station. There's a shortcut that went from the train station to almost the Lynn Avenue flat. Let's see. So those bikes, we had them, but we were like instructed not to use them because I guess like a couple weeks earlier up in Glasgow, I guess some missionaries had got ran over on bikes. So they're like, have bikes, don't use them.
You're not in Glasgow, you're in Beath. That's different.
Exactly, right? But so we didn't use bicycles, and it actually made it a lot easier to talk to people when you don't have to like stop a bike or get out of a car or anything like that.
Right.
And so we were also put in Beath, and we were instructed, this is your area. Do not leave your area for anything. And which was fine, but for P Day, the city of Dolrye, you'd have to get on a bus, ride the bus for like half an hour up to Glengarnock, and or Kilburnie was, I believe it was Kilburnie. Yeah. Okay, so it's Dolrye up to Kilburnie and then to Beath, and so you'd ride up to Kilburnie. I am so bad with names right now, but anyways,
you're right. You're right. I'm looking at the map.
All right, so yeah, Kilburnie. You ride the bus up to Kilburnie. Then you had to walk from the bus stop, which is on the main road that goes up to Glengarnock and Beath. You'd then walk about 3 or 4 miles to a miniature Tesco. And that's what we did every P Day for getting food and stuff. Because in Dolrye, there's nothing, absolutely nothing. You got a couple Chippies shops. You got the Indian cuisine places, and that was it.
Man, that's rough. So, I'm looking at the map. There's a Lidl down the street from where you used to live now.
that Lidl's was built a year after I left my mission.
Oh my gosh.
And so every P Day was just okay, get on the bus. Now go walk 4 miles. Get all your stuff, your gallon of milk, your Robinson's fruit and barley. I have one in my kitchen right now. But you can buy those at Walmart now. Walmart online store.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Iron Brew and Robinson's fruit and barley are available there.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw it. I was like, all right, and these are now mine. But yeah, so we'd go up there, walk 4 miles back, get on a bus, ride home. So it was all right. There's 5 hours of your day to get your basic groceries, and we're like, you realize we are 5 minutes from the bus station or the train station. You could get on the train, and you go to your district meeting, which was on our zone card. We included, so our zone card had, our area, the Loch Winnock area, the Irving area, so that, because it costs just as much to add your 5th area onto your zone card as it did to pay for a bus ticket every day or train ticket. And so it was already on the zone card to go there. And so to go to district meeting, you go from the train station, you ride down on the train to Irving, you walk through the biggest shopping mall that I've ever seen in my life to go to district meeting. All right. The shopping mall is 2 minutes from the dang train station. The train station is 2 minutes from the Lynn Avenue house. So we could have had our shopping, like, the travel time is a total of 4 minutes of walking. Go do your shopping. There's an Iceland right off the dock. Like, all right, get off the train, now walk to Iceland 13 feet away. But no, stay in your areas, Elder, on P-Day. We'll walk, 3 hours of walking. Okay, yeah, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. You got 4 hours left of P-Day to do something. Good luck doing something in 4 hours, and wherever you're going is going to take half an hour or more on your bus to go anywhere.
Tyrell, I have to say right now that you are the superior of obedience, because I would have given him a 2-finger salute and said, I'm going to Irvin for shopping. Forget you guys.
I was like,
oh my gosh.
We timed it, and the train route was like every 30 minutes. So we could have been in, out, back to our flat in 38 minutes, had our stuff done.
Oh,
like me and my second companion, me and the elder Willis, had like that thing planned out perfectly. Like we could have went down there, got it done, been out and back in 38 minutes. But no matter how hard we pressed and asked, and we're like, it would save so much time, effort, and energy. The answer was endlessly no. Elder Noble's last day, or his last week in Beef for a P-Day, he asked to go to down to Irving, which was on our zone card, so it was free to go to Primark to shop for, a suit and a tie from Scotland. Like, nope, stay in your area. And so,
who is telling you to stay in your area?
It was the zone. It was Elder Lee, Elder Peckham, Elder Frainer. Those three dudes. Yep, I blame you. Okay, anyways. But
oh my gosh!
Don't worry. I go about with life in gay abandon. So
you had to have enjoyed Elder Peckham's podcast then, with some of his regret.
They all made themselves out to be these perfect little angels. I'm like, yeah, angels with freaking devil horns. Okay.
Oh my gosh!
But
terrible.
Yeah. They took hammer time to the 10,000th degree. I mean, it was literally the epitome of a cold day in hell through hammer time. And so,
jeez.
But also, Elder Noble was, I guess, like a zone leader, district leader. His like entire mission is what it seemed like. So he was like by the book, by the line, like personal study, then companion study. It was, read and memorize the White Handbook. So I pretty much had all 82 pages of the White Handbook memorized within the first 3 months of my mission. Like every facet, every possibility, every design, every step of requirement was at the tip of the tongue, ready to go. And that was his style of teaching. So the first half of the time, so I'm the one that killed him. He went home, finished his mission. But the first half of the time, we got along pretty good. And then he had the bad habit of pointing everything out. It was actually really funny. So he'd be like, "Look, 2 gay guys making out." You're like, "Wait, what? Oh!" It's like, what? "Oh, look, make a picture of there." You're like, "What? Oh!" And that was just him. He just point out anything and everything disturbing that I would have completely missed gladly. But while they're so there's the basic rundown of my first area. So the people that we interacted with, they're the first one. I guess they opened up a Beef because there's it probably wasn't closed, but they're like, all right, you have a an investigator. His name is Rob McGick. Interesting last name, but common for the area. Probably very common for them, and just weird to me.
Yeah.
But he was about 13, and his whole family was kind of investigating. They're like great friends with President Carty. He was the branch president at the time. Beath branch is like 12 people, 10 people, and so we were teaching that family. We had this unusual impression to just focus on Rob and get him baptized, because the whole family's friends with the branch president, so not to worry there. So we got lessons taught. He got baptized, and he was baptized, confirmed, and given the priesthood all on the exact same day.
That's good.
Beath has its own baptismal font, which is surprising that there's like 12 people and they have their own building. And the building has a baptismal font in the building.
We've heard many stories about the Beath building and how that came about.
Yeah.
Can't say that I know what the answer is to all those, but
so I was there for 7.5 months. I was given the list of less actives to, here's some stuff to do in your spare time, elders. President Carter gave us the list. It's like 18 pages, size 5 font of less actives.
What? Size 5?
Yeah. Tiniest font ever imagined that's still readable. And literally, if the devil wanted to destroy Beath, all he would have had to done was get all of the less actives to go to church on the exact same day. Because that building would not have been able to hold everybody. Because it was like, you walk in, there's the foyer, the chapel's on the left, there's a sliding door thing between the chapel and the kitchen area that was also the relief study room. The chapel was also the basketball court room. And on the right, you have your hallway. There's the baptismal font on the left. There's like 3 classrooms on the right and 1 classroom on the left. So there was, your primaries in one, your elders quorums in the other, your relief societies over in the kitchen, and that was the entire building.
Oh my God.
It was, it was like maybe 1,200 square feet is what it felt like.
Man, so that's a pretty small building.
It was. I was like, wow, this is a church house. Okay, this is the smallest building I've ever seen for a church house. Used to the standard Idaho, within 2 hours of the mothership.
Right.
All right, here's your 26,000 square feet church houses. Here's the smallest one that was on planet Earth, designed from. So Scotland had this issue with their church houses being built with the design of Arizona church houses. And so all the designs of the church houses in Scotland are based off the design pattern for Arizona, because Arizona had this idea of all houses are required to have heating and AC and all those stuff required for your buildings. And so the church houses, they needed an affordable way to put heating in them and all the amenities like they're supposed to. And Arizona's way was cheapest for the air conditioning and heating side, because in Arizona at 140 degrees, you don't really need an effective heating system. So that's why most of the buildings in Scotland had ceiling heat, was because it was the cheaper option based out of Arizona at 114 degrees. So they're not actually designed for ice age level places.
Interesting. Jack, can you confirm this, having grown up in Arizona?
That would explain why the Scottish churches are cold, I guess.
Yeah, because for them to heat up, it has to heat from the top down, which means if you don't turn on the heat 3 or 4 hours before your meeting takes place, it's going to be cold.
Interesting. I didn't realize that. That's a fun fact of our conversation today, Tyrell. That's awesome.
Yeah, I grew up in the construction world, so that was the first thing I noticed was the roof designs, the interior heating, ventilation, cooling, wood structure, all that kind of stuff was what stood out to me. So,
Amazing.
like, saw it, I was like, wait a second, they use the cheap option. Okay, I guess, hey, if that gets you building, gets you building. But
Yeah.
anyway,
That is
so
interesting.
yeah, back on topic with all the less active. So that's what I spent 7.5 months doing, was just going to all the less active houses of every single person, and there was a lot of them were result of the baseball baptism stuff. A lot of them were the result of they were converted to the missionaries, not to the Lord. So the day after the missionary left, they all went less active. Just endless horror stories of that kind of stuff. And that
Man.
kind of massively shaped my opinion of missionary work. And it severely butted heads with the idea of the way that the mission was ran. So they're like, numbers, and I'm like, yeah, well, I come from a freaking horse ranch, and I have 35 horses that are utterly useless and 3 that are rideable. So I don't give a flying crap about your numbers, and because these are humans you're working with. You could baptize 1,000 people. Congratulations, one's still active a year later. Okay, fail.
Yeah.
And so it's like, hey, I'd rather have when you're teaching a person, you should see that person as you're teaching the future bishop, the future stake president, the future temple president, a future prophet. Not I'm just baptizing this person for ka-ching, there's a number.
Yeah.
And that rubbed everybody the wrong way. But I'm like, I grew up on a horse farm. You know what? That's all there is to it. I had my
Yeah.
useless horses that were only good for glue, and then you had the ones that were actually usable to ride and actually get use out of.
Yeah.
And so,
Interesting.
yes. So back to the baptism side of it. So back to Rob McGeoch. He was 12, baptized, confirmed, given the priesthood all on the same day, and the war was kind of annoyed at us because we didn't go take the extra time to baptize the entire family, and it also kind of bugged me because Elder Noble's focus was just on Rob, and that's what we felt prompted to work on him. So he got baptized long before his family did. If his family ever did finish getting baptized, I don't know. I was gone before that happened. So 3 weeks after we baptized Rob McGeoch, he was kidnapped. Poof, gone.
What?
Yeah, yep. His like great aunt or someone from another city just supposedly is the person that kidnapped him, and he disappeared off face of the planet 3 weeks later, and we're like, oh, that's why we focused on him, because you guys are still here. But
That's
the branch doesn't see
unbelievable.
it that way. Yeah. So I'd searched his name on all the different social media platforms every year for the last 20 years. He showed up 2 years ago on Facebook.
Really?
And so I guess he didn't die, so he's still alive. That's great. Yeah.
Wait, you're saying he was kidnapped and never came back?
Yeah. They didn't find him till 2 years ago. I was like,
Oh my
okay,
word.
leave it to Scotland. Holy crap. Okay. Yeah. So
Holy cow.
yeah, there was that. Then so that was the first baptism we did, and I only had 2 while in Beeth. The second one, her name was Roberta Moffat. She's about 85, 88, somewhere in there. She was way up there in age. Very, very, very nice elderly lady. She'd apparently been taught by missionaries for like the last 60 years.
60 years?
Yeah. Yeah. So when she was 20, 20 years old, she found the missionaries and was an interrogator for the next 60 years. And
That's
so she'd
unbelievable.
she'd talked to every kind of missionary imaginable. She expressly talked about Elder Peacock and Elder Honeycutt, and several other names. Those were just the ones that stood out to me because I was like, that's a cool name. But she mentioned many that, I probably don't recall at all because it was a lifetime worth of missionaries. But
Yeah. Oh,
yeah, we taught her for about a month and she got baptized. She said to me that of all the missionaries that she'd ever talked to, I was the only one that explained the plan of salvation in a way that it was understandable as to how important it was. And that was the turning point after 60 years of investigating.
man. Good for you, though,
And
Tyrell. That's a big deal, man.
yeah, then when she got baptized, that was another really fun hoop. I had several interesting baptisms because so she was 85, 86 years old. She had massive back issues. You get old and you have problems. The check engine light comes on, and so
Yeah.
so she requested to be baptized face first rather than going over backwards because she couldn't bend backwards very easily.
Right.
And so she requested that I was the one that was to baptize her, and I tried like 3 times to get her to go under the water fully. She just would not bend to go under the water. And so I traded out with Elder Noble, and Elder Noble just like picked her up and about body slammed her face first in the water. I was just like, you just see the branch president and the first council, the witnesses, eyes about bug out of their head, and I was like, I guess, hey, you know what? She's baptized. She did it right, so that works. And yeah, she was nicest lady you'd ever meet. She was super talkative. She was great. She absolutely enjoyed all the stuff. And then we found out she's like best friends of one of the members, Sister McKellar. Not sure if she's still alive or not. They were both pretty old, but yeah, the members there didn't seem to be very pro missionary work, so didn't have a lot of success through searching for referrals because at the time, we were to focus on, getting referrals through the members because having a friend always, helps you to be not adding to the endless pages of less actives.
Yeah, very
and,
true.
So they kept saying, oh yeah, we don't have anybody that's interested or anything like that. And then we just, bring to church another person, and the person just happened to be best friends with this other person that was a member that was of the 12 people in the ward or branch. It's like, hey, we found your best friend. Glad you didn't tell us about this last week. Anyways, here's your friend. But I guess they were right. It only had those 2 baptisms, so the others were just a positive influence in their life for that time being. And
very interesting.
So the ward really didn't like us for.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying?
I was going to say, so you were in Beath 7.5 months. How did you split your time between your trainer and Elder Willis?
So I was with my trainer for like 4.5 months.
Okay.
Or more. I don't remember the exact one. It was just way too long. But so we did not get along very well at the last half. We really did not get along well. And he was militaristic in the way that he did things. Like every time that we'd stop someone, he'd review why the person wasn't interested or what I did wrong. He pointed that out on every single person that I stopped. Great way to motivate someone to stop people, to rip their head off when they stop someone. But it was like your right foot wasn't forward. You were breathing in when you first talked to him. It was any possible thing you could come up with.
Oh, jeez.
That I'm like, I don't buy that this is all inspired, Elder.
Man.
I was like, it took grasping at straws to a whole new level, and so
Yeah.
we didn't really get along well. But anyways, he taught me a lot. I learned a ton from Elder Noble. He was good at teaching you how to teach lessons, teach people, teach for understanding, figure out what people wanted, what people were looking for, if they were understanding. It was really good instruction, and he was 5-star at scriptural debate. He was a scriptorian to the maximum. We ran across the J-Dubs, or the Jehovah Witnesses, and he could bring them to tears arguing with them.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he's like, your religion is based on taking all the joy in the world, sucking it out, and leaving you with what's left. And at first I didn't get that. And then I realized the Jehovah Witnesses, they don't celebrate any holidays or birthdays or anything. Anything that would bring you joy is gone, missing.
Yep.
And so he was absolutely, it was about being bold. So he was brutally honest with them. And he'd be like, all right, read me this scripture. And, they pull out their Bible and they open it up. And it was the one verse that they just straight deleted from their scriptures. We don't agree with that one. It's gone. So here's John chapter 12, verse this one. And it's not even there. And he's like, oh, so wait a second. You changed the scriptures? And we got thrown off many doorsteps, but it was like watching it. That was prime time watching him argue and debate with Jehovah Witnesses.
Man.
I didn't do a whole lot of debating because if it didn't go anywhere, what was the point? But he didn't like to lose an argument, and it definitely showed in his work. 'Cause he knew his information like with laser perfection. It was great. Let's see. So 4.5 months with Elder Noble, and the ward actually despised him, as we found out later. After he went home, replaced with Elder Willis, so he went up to Glasgow, met with his own leaders, then went back down with Elder Willis. That was a funny one. So went up there, and the guy on the train checks all of our tickets, and it's like, all right, you're good. So we get back on and start heading back down, and the guy checking tickets sees me and Elder Willis. So instead of Elder Noble, it's Elder Willis. But the guy, 100 people on a train, don't have time. Okay, there's the two funny looking missionaries. All right, again, there's two missionaries. So he just passed on, didn't check our tickets or anything. So Elder Willis didn't have to buy a ticket. free train ride from Glasgow down to Dalry, and then went. So here's the area. Here's the rules. We're stuck here with extreme prejudice.
Man, crazy
when
tough.
First district meeting, you get off the train. He's like, "There's an Iceland right here by the train." I'm like, "I know, I know, and I've never been in it."
Crazy.
Because Elder Noble was by the book, precise, follow every rule with extreme judgment. So and so we were invited to play soccer there in Irving once in a blue moon, and so it like two P days out of 7.5 months, we went down to Irving, played soccer with the rest of the zone that I guess met there every single week for soccer. So we kind of had to figure out our own fun. So Elder Willis there. So on your map of Dalry, just to the west of it is this place called the Lynn Glen. Right.
Mhm.
So kind of an interesting thing. So it was sort of flat with the mountains in the background, and in Dalry area. And so you walk down the street and you follow this like hiking trail path thing, kind of goes into the woods, drops down a little bit, and then there's a 45-foot waterfall. That's the Lynn Glen.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And Yeah, it is just like, and there's a giant waterfall a mile and a half away from the apartment. I'm glad I knew about this.
That's
So I
awesome.
went there. I took a couple of the district leaders when we'd go on exchanges. Elder Richey and Elder Wells and Elder Forth. We all went. We'd go first thing in the morning. It's like, hey, you want to see waterfall? All right, let's go for a run. Run down there and see this gigantic waterfall, and mind's blown that there's this waterfall that's huge beyond reason in this place that literally looks flat. So from the start of the trail, you look over and it's perfectly flat. You're like, oh, okay, it's just rolling hills, and there's a giant waterfall. Okay, however
Hmm.
that works.
It's pretty cool.
And then for castles, here's a funny story. So they're up in Lochwinnock going on vacation because there's only like one member in Lochwinnock that was less active that we were aware of. But going from the train station in Lochwinnock going west, there's the Bar Castle. And so we're like, oh, there's a castle there. Sweet. And you go there, and it's about 3 stories high, about 20 feet wide, and 20 feet long. Just completely bricked up wall. It's just a brick cube in the ground. I was like, wow, this it's one way to it's one way to say, well, I guess there's a castle. It was perfectly rectangular, just like, wow, there's nothing to this. It's just a brick.
Huh. Interesting.
But yeah, so humorously showed Elder Willis that one. Yeah, he got a kick out of that. He's like, wait, this castle? Okay, I guess that's what they call a castle. Yeah, why not, right?
Oh man.
But yeah, so then the several months with Elder Willis, we had a couple investigators. We didn't have any baptisms there. It was like deader than a doornail, and constantly getting hammered by the leaders because there was not much success going on because well, it's Beef, and that place has been chatted up for years. Everybody knew the missionaries, and I mean that I'd been there so long that people would ask me by name if I'd seen their kid by name, and I was able to respond by name as to oh hey Lindley, how's it going? Oh yeah, have you seen Graham? Yeah, he just passed over that building about 15 minutes ago. Oh, okay, cool. He's on his way home. And Elder Willis looks over at me and he's like, "You've been here way too long."
Jeez.
He's like, "She interested?" Oh no, nope. But
Man, tough.
yeah, it was kind of tough. Elder Noble had left. We had two investigators that were interested, kind of taking the lessons, and then Elder Willis came in, and those two people dropped us like bricks. The second Elder Noble was gone. Like this one guy, I remember him specifically because he had the bushiest unibrow on planet Earth. And, we opened up the door. He saw it wasn't Elder Noble, and he just stopped us right there. Just, done, out. Sorry, man. I respect the guy, but you guys can go and F yourselves.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, and there goes our teaching pool. Goodbye.
Man.
And so it
tough.
was, yeah, it was like pill and plaster trying to find new investigators, anything to go on. We managed to stay busy, but because it was follow the rules.
Because of that less active list, you said you'd talk to everybody. Man,
oh yeah,
it's crazy.
Everything, but we had an interesting thing there where any time that we were going to be late, like the bus just didn't show up for some reason, and we were going to be late back to the flat. There's this guy that we met. I don't remember his name, but he drove a Mitsubishi Warrior. so a little Mitsubishi truck. It's like this. It's like a Toyota Tacoma, just the 1980s style old ones, but just nicer. So it's like a little 4-seater truck, which for Scotland is like, oh, he drives the truck. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because 99% of vehicles are all cars and vans, but which is funny. So where I work, there's a guy and he drives to work a Vauxhall Mariva.
He does not.
In the parking lot. He drives a Vauxhall Mariva. I'm like, okay, sorry, that's present day. But yeah, just blown away. Going, you drive one of those junky cars? Okay, have fun. But yeah, just like
He must really like the gas mileage,
right?
I guess. I mean, that's about it.
Yeah. So this guy, he had he had a Mitsubishi Warrior, and anytime that we're like about to be completely screwed on time, and we're gonna be late, just out of nowhere, this little Mitsubishi Warrior pop out around a corner and be like, "Hey, Eldridge, you need a lift?" And we're like, "Yeah, that'd be great. I'll take a lift from a stranger. Why not?" So from Beath all the way down to Dolrai, just fast he could drive. We were like, rarely, if ever, more than 5 minutes late back to our apartment. And it was trippy because the first time I was like, going, "Oh, look, we're about to be late, Elder Willis." It's like, crap, what are we gonna do? The bus system is not supposed to be here for like another 45 minutes because after 7 o'clock at night it went terrible. And I was like, "Oh, it's easy. Watch this." Stuck my thumb out. He's like, "What are you doing?" Poof, out of nowhere, he goes, "Hey guys, need a lift?" Just like, "Okay, hi dude, thanks for the lift." It was like 15, 16 times over 7.5 months.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, anytime, just like it becomes so commonplace that when it was about to happen, I was like, "Oh, watch this."
Unbelievable.
But it was interesting because anytime that we're gonna be stuck, just okay, cool, and safe. And so didn't have much success trying to find people to teach all the time. So on a random side note with an investigator that we ran across, her name was Claire, but she lived on a street called Blackthorn, and I got the biggest kick out of it while in Dolrai. It was one of the highlights of that 7.5 months. So on the game of Pokemon, there's a city called Blackthorn, and the gym leader's name is Claire. And so I found a Claire on Blackthorn. I was like, of all the names and places, okay, sweet, I'll take it.
That's pretty cool.
She never came to church, but okay, we tried.
Yeah.
Our teaching pool. Once we had an investigator that was forced to be a progressing investigator. It wasn't progressing investigator, but we were getting hammered so hard. Oh yeah, well, get one. You have to have this person's now progressing. It's like, no, they're not progressing, but I guess okay. So this story was unforgettable because of how disturbing it was. But anyway, so we'd found this person somewhat interested in the gospel, and our district leader was just bound from, this person is progressing. We're going on splits. We're going to teach this now progressing investigator. And I was like, okay, if you say so. So we took the bus from. So he liked to ride the bus rather than take the train. And so we rode the bus from Irving back up to Dolrai, and there was this person on the bus, and I noticed it was the investigator that was supposed to be progressing. But anyway, so we sit down beside him on the bus, and before I can say anything, the district leader, doing what he's supposed to, starts talking to him, and it's like, "Hey, would you like to learn about the gospel?" He's like, "Actually, on a side note," he talked a little bit about the weather, and then for some reason he just flipped 180 degrees and then instructed the district leader on how to jerk off for the next 15 minutes of the bus ride.
Oh boy.
And because we get off the bus in the area, and it's like, so who's this investigator? I'm like, that was it. Sorry, that was him. Yep, that's what we got, dude. And you just see the look of, I'm sorry, your area is so screwed. It's like, just like, yeah, yep, that's Beef. We tried, we worked from sunup to sundown, we get nothing. But
Man.
yeah, and the members, they really despise us because of the whole Rob McGeek thing. They kind of blamed us for that. The parents never joined, or the mom, because there weren't any real married families there. It was all singles. But so the mom, she wasn't really interested. She kind of blamed us because her kid got kidnapped. Can I really say we blame her? No, not really, because her kid was kidnapped. Holy crap! But yeah, not much
So
success.
based on all of
there.
this stuff, Tyrell, did they close the area after you were there?
So after I left, so my first night in Scotland, we Elder Noble's like, all right, pick out a house, and we're gonna baptize these people. I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. Went to this house, door number 3, and just walking, it's like that one. So we knock on it, and it's a full-fledged family, like 5 kids, husband, wife. Just like, wow, this is freaking golden. And they're really interested. They wanted to learn. They said that they were looking for religion. And yeah, we tried a couple more times to get a hold of them. It was really hard to get in contact with them. They just disappeared off the face of the planet of the earth for the next 4.5 months. And so with Elder Willis, the last week that I was there, because a little distraught over the teaching pool just evaporating, exploding in my face right after Elder Noble left. The last week that I was there, we were walking by this one sister. She was the only person interested in the ward with helping us. We had this instance with a zone conference where so there's this multi-ward event up in Johnston, and the branch wanted us to go with them to it, but we were under the gunpoint rule. You don't leave your area or you die instantly, or you get unalive instantly if you leave your area, because under no circumstance will you ever leave your area. So that we're like, sorry, we can't come with you to Johnston to this multi-stake activity, because we're kind of not allowed to. And so I went to this zone conference, and it was great. And it was, I think it was up in Edinburgh, and we grabbed this slow train back. We got on the wrong train. It was a slow train back to our area, and it took like 7 hours to go from Edinburgh to Johnston. And yeah, it was, I don't even know the route that it traveled, but it bypassed Glasgow, went straight through Johnston, but it took so ridiculously long. It was just like staring out the window going, wow, that's the way that I explored Scotland, was by this slow train. But anyway, so they're like, okay, elders, it's 8:00 at night. You're not making it back to your apartments. You're staying the night in Johnston. And yeah, and that's where I learned that the Johnston flat was the coolest design flat that ever existed. It was like 3 stories. Like the bottom story had the bikes, and then it was staircase up to the main floor. And then the study was up another floor. And I was like, this is absolutely epically awesome design of an apartment. And since we were in Johnston, then go to sleep, wake up next day, and then the Johnston elders call up, and this is what baffled me. They're like, hey, so since the Dolrai elders or the Beath elders are already here, Elder Noble and Kellen are here, why don't they just hang out with us for a day for P-Day? And the district leaders and whatnot are Our zone leader's like, yeah, that's perfectly fine, because it was the Johnston elders that called, not the Outer Darkness elders. And so we stayed the P-Day with Johnston. I was like, holy crap, this is the first. Is this how it is all over the mission? Because that'd be freaking cool. And so they're like, oh, there's this big, huge multi-stake event to go to. We're like, wait, what? And so we ended up going to the event that the Beast branch had begged us to go to. And let's just say the Beast members did not take kindly to the fact that we showed up for the Johnston elders ward and not for them. And they held that against us for the rest of time. And so, yeah, with the whole kidnapping and then that event, let's just say the members really despised us.
So
And
eventually you had to have got out of there, right?
Yeah, so 7.5 months. Yeah, they were at the mission home. They were like cleaning out, dusting out the file cabinets. They moved it. They grabbed a whole stack of them, just lifted up and like, hey, there's a file under this pile here. Hang on, who's this? Who's this Elder Kellen? Like, oh, and Elder Kellen does exist. We should move him.
Jeez.
I was convinced that they just lost my file, and so it finally got moved, and so they're like, all right, so you're getting moved out. Elder Wilson's staying. He's training Elder Hammond. And he's staying, and you're going to Kilmarnock. And
down the road.
Yeah, not too far away. Just there, you can take this other train that's going to go to Kilmarnock. And they're like, all right, so here's some rules of Kilmarnock. Sear this into your brains. Do not ever forget it. And you will follow this to the T with extreme prejudice. And it does not matter who you offend, who you annoy. You will follow these rules whether you like it or not, or you will be sent home. And we're like, wait, what? Like, all right. So apparently something had happened in Kilmarnock with the sisters of the ward, with the previous missionaries or the missionaries before them or something that was like auto eject, pull them out, get them out of there immediately with extreme prejudice, transfers, get them out, gone, poof. Something of massive had happened in Kilmarnock. And so we were instructed, all right, here on your phone, here's this whole section called an X list. Like, do not contact, do not talk to, do not associate with anybody on the X list. It was all the 14 to 19-year-olds, ladies of the ward. Yeah, so something massive had just happened, and so we whitewashed in. Me and Elder Kelly. So with Derek Kelly, he was from Arizona. So yeah, that was our instructions. Screw with this, you go home. Right then, there with extreme prejudice. Just, okay, here's put the fear of God in you on day one, and then so after the military rule style of all right, here's Kilmarnock, and don't associate with these people. Have a blast. And so got there, looked through who all they were teaching. There's this lady in a wheelchair. Her name was Mary Ballantyne. She was in a wheelchair, and she was over in Hurlford is the name of the city. And she was in a wheelchair, and she was like 3/4 of the way through the lessons. So we went through the lessons with her and the other two missionaries. So there's 4 missionaries in Kilmarnock at the time. There's me and Elder Kelly, and then there's Elder Bird and Elder Hensley. They were serving there in Kilmarnock in the north area, and we were on the south side. I'm thinking it's the south side. I was so disoriented, but we got on a bus, and it went in a straight line, and it never turned. So we got out of our apartment, got on the bus, went in a straight line as far as it could go, and then we got off the bus and got back in our apartment. I'm like, we never turned. there's a glitch in the matrix here, Elder. So I was obliviously lost for like 2-3 weeks as to where this was. It was super foggy in Kilmarnock for those 3 weeks. So it was like wandering through the land of ghosts for 3 weeks. So we'd just be walking and following this little map, hoping not to get lost. And yeah, it was a weird area for the first 3 weeks as I learned the area. Kind of interesting because you'd be like, and now we're back to the apartment. It's like, wait, how did we get here? Okay, sure. And so Elder Noble had taught me how to cook pasta and curry, and then Elder Willis kind of taught me how to do stir fry a little bit. And so with Elder Kelly, he also did stir fry and whatnot. And so we'd have the different flavors of curry, pasta, stir fry. We ate healthy. It was great. Because stir fry, you just throw in your vegetables, your meat. There's your noodles. So you got your wheat, your meat, and your vegetables all in one. So we ate healthy. It was great. Anyways, so back to the Mary Ballantyne story. So she's in a wheelchair, and I guess the normal procedure with the wheelchairs is you just take them in with the wheelchair and put them down in the water, and there it's done. So I guess she requested not to have her wheelchair get wet. Can't say I blame her. I mean, wheelchairs are expensive. You don't want them to rust in the insanely wet country of Scotland. So it took the 4 of us missionaries to baptize her because she's a paraplegic, and so my job was to lay on the bottom of the baptismal font so that she didn't just smack the ground when they put her under the water. And so I just remember, all right, you're in first, all right, down. And it's like, all right, Elders, you got 3.5 minutes before he drowns.
What?
And so, yeah, I'm just laying, across the bottom of the baptismal font, looking up, going, okay, guys, hurry up. Any day now would be great. Incoming paraplegic, all right. Just make sure this person doesn't, hit the ground because they're paraplegic and you don't want them to drown. So it took 4 of us. The other 2, one said the prayer, the other 2 lowered it down in. It was a once in a lifetime experience. That was interesting because how often do you sit in the bottom of a baptismal font going, all right, at some point, body's going to just plaster into me as I'm trying not to drown.
Oh my gosh, that's unreal.
But yeah, it was great. It was completely memorable.
I bet.
But yeah, and so a little bit about her. She had like 400 piercings, and so she said that they were unremovable. And so we're like, okay, got authorization from the bishop, which the bishop at the time, he was like, he was from Johnston, small world, right? So he was from Johnston. He was signed up to serve a mission, but he didn't have the greatest of health. And so they're like, hey, you can just be the bishop of the Kilmarnock ward. And he was like spot on missionary work. Like if you need investigators, a ride, a lift, help, anything, he was there. He was there to help, and he would make it happen. It was amazing how willing it. Yeah, for to go from the members wanting you all to burn at the stake to all of a sudden, what can we do to help you, elders? Anything we can do, absolutely. And so yeah, he cleared it. We're good. Okay, his baptizer. Don't worry about the piercings. It's all good. And then
it's good.
Yeah, couple months later, she's like, "Oh, I went to this party with some friends. It was great." And she showed us some pictures of it, and all of her piercings were completely different designs. Meaning,
of course.
she could easily take out her piercings and change them out to different colors and designs and styles. It's like, wait a second, I thought you said these couldn't be removed. But we're like, no better than to call them out on it because keep the new converts active. Don't want to chase them off for no good reason. So yeah, that that was the first baptism. That was interesting. Then, we then the next one, we're working with some less actives. Here's the Tingy 5 list of people to work with, and one was a guy. His name was President Rayburn. He's a former stake president that had gone less active. He was the one that helped divide the stakes up in Scotland and divide up the stakes in the wards and stuff. He was the one working with like David B. Haight or whoever the 70s or apostle was that divided up the stakes in Scotland. He was there helping them out. And he went less active because he was ordered to lie about numbers, and that he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it because I'm told to. And so getting him to come back to church is like convincing him to reformat his entire existence. So he was very much annoyed that they'd ordered him to lie about numbers to get wards and stakes. But I guess, plan for the future. Now you have numbers, now you have stakes. Great, it works out. But anyways, he was less active. He'd been less active for ages, years, decades, who knows how long. But we had some deep conversations with him. He had epically prying, like soul searching questions, and he talked about like all the time we'd bring up, hey, you should come to church with us this Sunday. It'd be great to have you there. And he's all like humorously like, nope. But it was great because he'd use the same tone every time. He's like, nope. But one day I got to be really good friends with him. It was like every Monday it was like Monday or Tuesday, we'd always have a dinner appointment. They'd have all 4 of us elders there. And so one day, like, hey, you coming to church? And before he said no, he's like, no. And I was like, but then how am I supposed to feel successful? And that's what did it. He literally came back to church, walked in, like half the ward, just the jaw hit the ground. It's like, he walked in and he's like, yep, I'm here now. It's like, okay, I guess if that's what it takes, great, sweet, welcome back.
Wow.
And,
amazing.
There's members that are just like, these missionaries have just walked on water.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so he pointed us to a former bishop that was less active. And I don't know what it was with Kilmarnock, but they had less active issues like out the wazoo. So this less active bishop, he went over and talked to them. They were great people. I don't know. There's like a civil war in this ward or something. But so we met with this bishop, and he's like, actually, my son's kind of interested. He's 17 and isn't a member of the church. And so his name was Chris Milligan. He was a 5-star investigator, a bishop's son, former bishop's son, had soul searching questions, legitimate concerns. And we taught him stuff. It was great. And he had this thing where he could just flip open the scriptures, point to it, and ask a question, and like the answer was where you whipped open the scripture and pointed, and there was the answer to it. And I was like, that's an epic skill there. That's remarkable, lad. Boy.
Wow.
But, he was golden investigator, straight bird course. Here's lessons. Welcome to the church. It's great. So he started coming to church. His parents weren't interested. But yeah, we got him to church. It was pretty good. And then that was the second baptism that me and Elder Kelly had. Elder Kelly was promoted to district leader, and so we got all the planning and the exchanges and stuff like that. And then they had this district leader conference or something like that held up in Edinburgh, and I was instructed that couldn't go with because it was just for district leaders and zone leaders and them, and that normal missionaries I was instructed by this zone leader that normal missionaries were basically without directly saying it, utterly useless, which I kind of took offense to because here I am, 10 months out as an utter nothing. It's like, all right, well, you didn't insult me to my core right here, attaboy. But that was just the way the mission was ran. Screaming nightmare. Anyways, but then so we had this other family, the Burchams. They were great. They'd have us over for dinner every single week. The four of us missionaries there, and they had. We'd ask them for referrals, and they didn't really have any referrals. And then we were walking by this those little vans that drive around selling candy that you probably shouldn't buy stuff from. But so instead of buying candy from there, we see this person walking, and we're like, "Oh, let's go stop her." So went and talked to her. Her name was Stephanie Allen. She turned out to be like the best friend ever in history of one of Sister Bertram's daughters. I think her name was Kelly. But yeah, she was another one. She was super interested in the church. A week after we found her was the state conference, and she demanded to go with state conference. And so, yeah, we all, got on the bus, went up to the state Paisley Award, whatever, for state conference. So here's an investigator, just found us 5 days earlier and now going to state conference. It's like, all right. And so she joined the church, and she was made a ward missionary. And this one member is like, "Don't worry, I'll teach you how to do missionary work." And the bishop pulled us aside and said, "Under no circumstance let him teach her how to do missionary work," because I guess he was part of the problem from before we were there. And so, yeah, I'm not gonna name names of that one, but so that she was a ward missionary, and she was super interested in the church and learning everything there was to learn about it. She's probably one of my favorite converts of my entire mission. And so
it's awesome. Yeah,
she'd go on joint teaches all the time, to help us go with tracting and stuff. Obviously, because of the rules, can't be two elders with a single sister. So it'd be the four of us elders go over, have like dinner, stuff like that, or the new convert lessons. Apparently the other elders of the area had started taking her with to joint teaches and stuff like that. And something happened, and all four of us ended up getting whitewashed out of there at the same time.
Oh, man.
Wait, that was the rule. That was the rule that you were told not to break, correct?
Yeah, it wasn't us that broke them. It was the other missionaries. I don't know what their rules were. They were moved in afterwards. But, so I didn't do anything wrong.
Not blaming you, but it sounds like that might be the reason.
Right. But
so how long were you with Elder Kelly then?
I was with Elder Kelly for 6 months in Kilmarnock.
6 months?
Yeah, so my first area I was there for 7.5 months. My second area, Kilmarnock, I was there for 6 months with Elder
the same
Kelly.
companion.
Yep.
My gosh.
And so it was interesting. So I'm on companion number 3 with Elder Kelly. I'm out over a year now. And so the last baptism I had in Kilmarnock before we got whitewashed out of that area, the most crazy nightmare of stuff that ever happened was we found this other friend of the Burchams, and also a friend of I just forgot her name, Sister Allen. I'm just calling her Stephanie, but I've actually stayed in touch with her for the last 20 years now. Holy crap, it's been a while. But anyways, I still talk to her every now and then. But
nice.
There's this other one. Her name was Kim Shaw, and she was good friends with Stephanie Allen and good friends with the Burchams. How they didn't refer us to them, I don't know. But hey, So it turns out she'd also been taught by the previous missionaries. And so went through, I count her as a baptism, although that baptism took place a week after I left. But she demanded that I be the missionary that baptized her. And so I got moved up to Glasgow and was pretty much directed by the mission president. You're going back down there to baptize her. You know, that's
It's a good problem to have.
interesting. Yeah, exactly. Right. You're going down there. He says you're the only person on planet Earth that's allowed to baptize her. So go down there and make it happen. So
Nice.
went down there with all my other companions there. I was like, all right. So yeah, she got baptized and went back up to Glasgow. So when I moved into Glasgow, I was with an elder Munden. He was from London. Elder Munden from London. Easy way to remember it. But he just got back from. Yeah, he's the one that had it. He had such a great sense of humor. But yeah, he just got back from lung surgery. He had like a collapsed lung or something, so he went back down to England over Christmas. Came back to finish up his like last 3 months or last moves or something like that. I don't remember the exact amount of time. But yeah, so that's when I had the car. Was that 4 weeks that I was with Elder Munden. He only got it for 4 weeks because they're like, hey, you're supposed to take it easy for the next month. So, you don't have a lung rupture or something extremely traumatic beyond reason with the British healthcare system being the way it is. So they're like, you're going to take it easy. Here's your car. That's the only reason why you're getting a car is so that you don't unalive yourself. And so it was great. I can say that I at least got to have a car for a couple weeks.
Nice.
So yeah, well there I guess we found this lady named, her name was Adele Mullen. I still stay in contact with her as well. She's since moved up to Dumbarton. But yeah, so we found her. She was kind of golden investigator. So me and Elder Munden baptized her. Let's see. And I thought there was one other person that I'm not remembering off the top of my head. But lots of fun experiences there. He was extremely skilled at bending rules. I'd been an extremist stickler for the rules to the 10,000th cube degree, and so the rules were rock hard, solid. There's no question or debate. You do this or you're literally the spawn of Satan. And so he had this crazy way of bending rules so far without actually breaking rules that I didn't even know was possible. And so it was like a whole game of shenanigans. So I'll out one of them. So the instructions say that, before your personal study, you're supposed to exercise. So you exercise and then you do your personal study. Personal studies begins at exactly 8:00, whether you like it or not, in the end. And so he's like, hey, on P Day, let's go do our shopping in the morning. We have a car. We'll just drive over to Asda. We'll walk and jog around Asda and do our shopping that's our exercise. And we get back to the apartment and start our personal study at exactly 8 a.m. So I'm like going, wait, you doing what? There's no rule on where or when you can spend money. And so, I mean, it's not breaking the rules, but I was just like, this is bending rules so bad. Mind blown. I didn't know this was physically possible. So that was just one of the rules. Yeah, that was a great. Yeah, it was just straight up shenanigans with Elder Munden. Apparently, he blew up the baptismal font in Irving. I guess him and Bishop Gilardi just did not get along well with that one. him and the district leader had been like companions and stuff, and yeah,
So how long were you with Elder Munden then?
I was with him for I think like 3 months.
Okay, a couple
3
transfers.
months. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, it was interesting. He was an absolute character. He knew the gospel really well, but I never saw somebody that was physically capable of bending completely. Went from this militaristic idea of what missionary work and rules were to now the universe no longer makes sense. Went from utmost respect towards each other to go like first couple weeks there, knock on doors like, all right, it's your turn. I was like, all right, this is gonna be great. And right there, just hard as you could, just squirrel tap me right there. Person opens the door and I just drop on the ground right there in front of the person. Just, we're here to teach you the gospel. Oh. And he's like, he does this all the time. He's just being dramatic, and I'm just like, what is wrong with you? Anyways, it was, and thinking back, I mean, it was freaking hilarious thinking back on it. But yeah, so completely different philosophy of teaching the gospel, what it meant to be a missionary, all that stuff just got thrown against the wall at 7,000 miles an hour. So, yeah, lots of fun there. And again, with the district leader saying, this person has to be baptized now, whether you like it or not. She's been progressing for 4 days. She's now has to have a baptismal date.
4 days.
And yeah, the level of like, you're insane, but okay, whatever.
Oh
And I'm like, you're sustaining your leaders without question or debate, so get over it. But so he just starts arguing with the leader, just like, over my cold dead body, is she going to be scheduled for baptism? This ain't going to happen, whether you like it or not. And he has it on speakerphone, and we're like, I never, even the fathomed idea of just straight up yelling and arguing with district and zone leaders. Like, the idea didn't exist. And I mean, he just railed into this guy, and everything he said was like solid ground. Like, she's not getting baptized, and just back and forth between the two. Just like, okay, wow, didn't know that was possible. He's like, well, why not? He's like, because she's currently a weed smoking lesbian. She's got some problems at work. So I'm like, okay, those are actually legitimate concerns. Just like, eventually resolved concerns, and she got baptized too. Okay, cool. Yeah, just the concept of being able to argue with this. Yeah, that idea had never been put into my brain until then.
Because you thought you would have caught on fire the minute that you argued, right?
Exactly. It's hammer time. Yeah, it's going to be traumatizing. You're going to want to blow yourself away, but it's hammer time. Get over yourself. And so the concept didn't exist. And so my entire world just got upended, like carpet pulled out from underneath you, and then you got hit by a car level of that. The whole world no longer made sense. And so then he got moved out. Elder Whetstone got moved in. He was easygoing, but he was one of the most spiritually in tune people that I'd ever met. I also was with him in the MTC. We met a guy, nearby so we were in Maryhill, Glasgow. I was in Glasgow for another 6 months. So I had a bet. I swear they lost my file all the time. And they're like, oh, there's a file here. So yeah, spent 6 months in Glasgow. So,
what's your name again?
I'm Elder Cellan, Tyrell Cellan. Anyways, so 6 months in Glasgow, Maryhill, the Julian Avenue ward. But so that's right by the college. And so one day we were walking through the park there near the college, and we met this guy named Siddhartha Palavaram. And he was Golden Investigator. He was from India. I talked to him for about an hour and a half. about a month ago. He's
Wow.
since moved back to India and is now going to be moving to Canada here at the end of the year. And so he joined the church, and so he was into. We found him. He was into all sorts of cult idol worship kind of stuff, weird religions. There's like 190 different religions in Glasgow, so all sorts of weird stuff. But so found the church. He was gold investigator. Had great questions. He posed a question on the Word of Wisdom I'd never even heard of or fathomed. And Glasgow was the place where the universe no longer made sense. So with the Word of Wisdom, there's the whole alcohol issue. And so you're teaching him the Word of Wisdom. He's like, am I allowed to use? He's like, well, I have alcohol in the apartment right now. And we're like, oh, what? Wait, what? It's like, yeah, I use it as shampoo and conditioner. And we're like, wait, what? This is
That's what
a
it's
brand new
for.
concept. Yeah, washing of the body, as it says in A&N. Never had that issue in the entirety of the 2 other areas I've been in at this point. A million questions on the Word of Wisdom, but shampoo was never one of them. Apparently,
that's
it makes
unique.
your hair like ultra shiny, but over there, that was commonplace to use that. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Third world countries have to stay clean somehow, and alcohol is a great cleaning agent. All right, I can deal with these kind of questions. This is great. So he joined the church, and then we found this other guy. His name was Antoine Dharmaraj, another guy from India. He was there for college, and then he was going to bring his family over to Scotland. He went from being able to be taught throughout the week to just being on Sundays, and so instead of me teaching him, I guess it was Elder Whetstone and the zone leaders would teach him while I'd go and set up appointments with all the members. It's like, okay, that works. Gotta have productive missionary work by working with members. We had this thing called the Ask and Faith sheet at the time. So Elder Bednar just gave his Ask and Faith talk in General Conference, and they designed this whole paper on Ask and Faith, and it followed his talk perfectly, like step by step, and they made a whole flow chart, pedigree chart thing for exactly how to go about referral work with members. And so we were, supposed to teach that to all the members and help them to do missionary work and get referrals through that program. And so there were
cool.
Yeah, that President Rayburn from Kilmarnock, we presented that to him, and he's like, let me see that. He crumpled up, threw it in the garbage, and said, this is a terrible way to do missionary work. And
jeez.
just like, what? But that was just his personality. It was his way or the highway, and his way was right whether he liked it or not. And he had, a million stories as to why it was right, and so didn't argue with that. But so we had this Ask and Faith sheet, and we started teaching it to the members. And one member we taught it to, like, he went through the Ask and Faith sheet, filled it out completely, and they're just like, put in names of friends. Doesn't have to be somebody that you talk to. You just put in names of all your acquaintances and stuff. And I guess within like the next week, every single person on that list had contacted him. And we're like, wow, that's absolutely amazing, the ploy for mission work's actually working here. That's pretty epic. And so we had so with Dharmaraj, we got all the lessons done with him, and then Elder Whetstone, we had these dinner appointments with Sister Care, and she had a special ed daughter. They were great people. And then there's this other Sister Care, exact same name and spelling, that was like a master baker. So I guess she'd gone through like culinary arts and stuff, and she was amazing at baking. And so while me and Elder Whetstone were going through everything. He'd set up this appointment with Sister Care. He didn't specify which one. So moves came through. Elder Whetstone left. Elder Tavin Stuckey came in. He's kind of scrawny like me, and he was all sorts of fun. But we had this dinner appointment to go to, and so we went over to Sister Care's, and the standard time, and we had dinner with Sister Care, and then we get this call from the other Sister Care saying, "Hey, elders, it's you're 10 minutes late. What's going on here?" And so the other Sister Care, that's the master baker, had made this amazing, luxurious dinner for us that I had no idea existed, because somebody hadn't specified as to exactly which Sister Care it was supposed to go to. So we had 2 dinner appointments that week or that day, and force fed myself to be polite, and that was absolutely painful beyond reason. And
Oh no, terrible.
Yeah, that was absolutely terrible. But yeah, that was quite the experience. Yeah, didn't have a lot of success there after that one. So after Elder Whetstone left, the area kind of died down a little bit, but it was only for like 1 moves, and so I was there for 6 months in Glasgow. While there, Elder Whetstone broke his pinky playing soccer or football, and it's a funny story with the football there in Glasgow. So the stake president, his name was Forsyth. So President Forsyth, he kicked the ball, and I was like in the way or something, or I don't think I was the goalie, but I was in the way, and that ball hit me in the arm so hard it left a welt on my arm that lasted about a week and a half. So I had this soccer ball imprint on my arm for a week. It was great. So make sure I wore all my long sleeve shirts, because it looked like a murder scene. I was like, all right, this is great. This is actually kind of cool. But
Yes, those
so,
people can kick a ball. That's for sure.
Yeah. I was like, I guess I did something wrong or something. Because I'd learned to blame myself for anything and everything that could possibly have happened or went wrong, and so that's what I did.
Oh,
But
boy.
so from Kilmarnock, I got moved up to Aberdeen as my last area. I was there for like 4.5 months, and then went home and died because mission's up.
Who'd you serve with there?
So I started out with an elder, Antonio Sauter.
Yeah.
And he was from like Slovakia, no, he was from Romania. He's got quite the interesting conversion story. But yeah, we had went there. People were like pro missionary work there. Like the missionaries. That was good. I guess previous missionaries been working hard to build relationships there, so it was a pretty good ward. They all got along well, and didn't have the civil war of previous areas. So like that whole concept disappeared. While I was in Glasgow, we switched over from President Fredericks over to President Griffiths.
Right.
And so my last area, we found this guy. He a recent convert had a friend or a cousin, and so we ended up baptizing the cousin. His name was George. He had this hilarious dog that would like lick the paint on the walls. Just like, okay, that's the weirdest thing I have ever seen. Like, it's not normal behavior. But yeah, had a blast there. We baptized that guy, his name was George Forbes. He was a pretty good investigator. Joined the church. He was doing good, and then he just disappeared off the planet, and we couldn't find him for nothing. Then there's the college there in Aberdeen. I was in the south area. Was that like Bridge of D or something was the area? But our area was called Aberdeen 2, so okay, not very descriptive. But it's yeah, we went to the college area, just walking along the road, and we found this guy. His name was Kingsley. He was from South Africa, and he seemed to be golden. And we had a lot of joint teaches, member missionary work going on with that. Brought him over to a member's house, and one of the members, explained the necessity for the gospel, for temples, and it was really good. I didn't see where temples really fit in much with anything, but I guess the spirit was there, and it was great, and he joined the church, so it must have been right. And
Nice.
then he also pulled a disappearing act. Poof, gone, no idea. I'm gonna guess it's because like the school semester ended or something. But he disappeared off the face of the planet. Couldn't find him for anything either, and we tried back a lot. But yeah, that was about it for baptisms. I was with Elder Stouter for like one moves. It seemed like longer than that, but I might have been there for. No, it had to only been. So I was with him for 2 moves, for 4.5 months. So because each move 6 weeks. Okay, so
3 months.
Yeah, so I was with him for 3 months. Yeah, and I thought we got along great, but I guess everybody else thought we didn't. And so like every meeting with President Griffiths was like, okay, what's going on between you and your companionship? How come you're not getting along? And I was like, I thought we were getting along great. Like seriously, I actually like him a lot more than some of the other companions I'd had. But just like it was like baffling to me. Like I didn't get it. I was like, I thought we were getting like great. I didn't have a problem. This is good. I don't understand the question, but okay. But yeah, after 3 months, he went down to. He got transferred to Air to be a district leader. And then I got this weird email from my parents saying, congratulations on being made a district leader. To this point, I'd been a junior companion the entire time. And then my parents got a letter in the mail saying, congratulations on your son being promoted to the office of district leader or something to that nature. I never actually saw the paperwork. But, there's all this congratulations. I'm like, when the heck did this happen? I am a district leader. And so, just like a brick upside the head, just, what? When did this happen? Because I don't remember this at all. But, so, yeah, so Elder Souter went down to Air, and there's some epic stories with Air, but, not my area, so not my stories. But he was moved district leader down there, and I guess there's a Romanian investigator talked to her and dropped her like the next day. And so yeah, that's as far as I heard with the stuff going on with him being made district leader down there. I got the new companion. His name was Craig Jeffries. He was from England, and I guess he'd worked in one of the packaging businesses that made the like dry pack meals, like the 5 for 4 pound dinner meals. Which, funny story with the dinner mill. So while I was in Kilmarnock, we went on exchanges with the district leaders, and or sorry, not district leader. We were just moved on. I was the junior guy, and he was the district leader. But anyways, so I was the nothing at the time. But I was ordered to no longer eat the 5 to 4 pound dinner meals because they weren't healthy. And, the thing of the mission was to be healthy. And the funny part with that was, the 5 to 4 pound meals were, it was a balanced meal. You had your potatoes, your corn, your meat, your fruit. I mean, that I was like, this is a clean cut meal. I don't get what your problem is. And you go. Then I got sent on splits with them, and then for lunch, I'm not going to mention specific elder Leah as to what they ate was just couscous for the meal. That's incredibly healthy. But I was like, that's it. Okay, by all means. But hey, can't have dinner meals anymore. So then I thought it was humorous that being put with Elder Jeffries, that he worked in the plants that made those. He's like, yeah, we took time to make sure that they were balanced and complete and great. It's like, oh, that's cool. Elder Jeffries, he was like 27. So he had quite the interesting story of how he got able to be sent out on his mission at that age.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I served with him my last moves before I kicked the bucket. And we didn't really have much success at all. There's this one guy that we were teaching. I don't remember his name for the life of me, but he was from Poland, and his roommate was some girl that was from Poland, and I guess I didn't get along very well. But they were both from Poland and housing together, and he wasn't really progressing, so I didn't really worry about the whole dynamics of not supposed to have that set up. But anyways, she grilled us on questions, and so with the questions, I was out 95% of my mission done at this point. So we answered every question she had by the scriptures, like exact, straight as it could be. Here's the answers. It was great. And then that day was also general conference at the time. And so we went to general conference, and the talks, like one after another, was like in order of this argument that we'd had with this lady, of each principle that we talked to the lady. Each talk of that general conference was just in order of what we talked to her about. And I was just like, wait a second, these are some interesting parallels. But that was quite the interesting setup. There was exactly what we said was exactly what general conference was, and like, okay,
How about that?
yeah, that was a interesting coincidence. But since I don't really believe in coincidence, that was an interesting one.
I bet.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So
see,
you finished your mission in Aberdeen and headed home from there, sounds like.
Yeah. Yep. It was interesting. I had two Christmases there. Elder Lee basically wrecked Christmas the first year, ordered that we go out and knock doors, and there's no difference between that and any other day. And
What?
so that was my first Christmas. Absolutely. So turns out he was in the hospital bedridden, being harassed by one of the members of Kilmarnock that we were ordered to avoid like the plague. And so his apparently his first Christmas sucked, and so he in turn helped all of our Christmases suck. And so
Elder Lee, come on the podcast. We'd love to talk to you about your Christmas policies. That'd be interesting to hear about that from his perspective, for sure.
So that Christmas was the most weird, disturbing, creepy thing that ever happened, because there was nobody on the streets. Can't say I blame him. I wouldn't want to be out on the street on Christmas either. So we walked down the streets without people on them. Knocked on doors that people would not answer the door, and can't say I blame them either. And so that was sun up to sundown, because had like no appointment scheduled, because we were ordered to that Christmas is basically canceled. So walk down the streets without people, locked in doors with nobody home. It was like a freaking zombie apocalypse. Like, you could hear a gust of wind. It was so quiet. You could hear a gust of wind go around the city, wrap around and smack us in the back as we were walking. And that was the highlight, was getting smacked by this gust of wind that you could just hear circle the city. Like, it was the most ominous, weird thing that ever was. You could hear this gust of wind just travel out around the city. You'd hear it get faint, build back up, come back in a circle, and whack, there it is, all day long. And so yeah, that was depression in a nutshell of part of Hammer Time, I guess.
Oh man, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that,
Yeah,
Tyrell. That's terrible.
So the next Christmas, I didn't care what anybody said. I'm like, and the game's over. I'm going home. Let's get over it. And so the next Christmas, I'm like, I'm gonna have fun, enjoy Christmas because it's Christmas. Get over yourselves. And so there's some movie that everybody was excited to see in 2010. We didn't watch that one. Instead, we watched Terminator Salvation. But
I thought you were going to say Planet of the Apes again or something.
Right. So Terminator Salvation is ironically the cleanest Terminator movie ever made. It's like one word away from being rated PG, if not G. And this other movie that all the other missionaries were excited about going to turned out to be epically terrible. And so yeah, that was the highlight of the second Christmas.
Well, Tyrell, you said your mission was kind of almost half and half of President Frederick and President Griffiths. Do you have any specific memories of them or their wives in your time in your mission?
So my first so with President Frederick's, since I was banished to oblivion, I was told that Beath is where sister missionaries went to die. I have no idea where that idea came from, because go on our YouTube channel and find the Beath song, and you'll understand why. Right. So yeah,
it's called Bad Sisters.
But yeah, I was Beath was hard because it was the middle of nowhere. We weren't allowed to go anywhere, and then also in Kilmarnock, we were doing all these soccer games, and we were going to Paisley every now and then to go do zone soccer. And I called them out on it. I was like, "Hey, how come the Beath elders aren't there?" And like, "Oh, nobody likes Beath. They can go flip off for all we care." And I was just like, "I'm sorry, what?" So it was just everybody hated Beath. That's all there was to it. A little bit disturbing, but hey, okay, whatever. But anyway, so Beath was nightmare level hard. It was, I was ready to throw in the freaking towel with Elder Noble. I was freaking done with life. That was absolutely freaking terrible. Hammer Time didn't help out at all. And
So what you're trying to say is you had a better relationship with the Griffiths.
No, absolutely not. That's the funny part. So it's all sorts of crazy. So I actually really liked President Griffiths, or not President Griffiths, President Fredericks. And so I was, absolutely depressed as heck and absolutely hated life in the mission. The time that I was in Beath, and one of the things that President Frederick said, because just the way that his demeanor and everything, it was always, when you were around him, everything was calm, everything was good. He's the most confident person that you'd ever meet. And he said, Elder Cellan, you're easy to love because you keep all, with the idea of like keeping the rules and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of changed everything. And because of that, I was like, okay, no longer want to throw in the towel. I'll actually stick around.
It's good.
And so the same thing went with Elder Johnston, I guess. So the assistants were Elder Johnson and Elder Lucas, and experience there. So massive problems with me just being done with the mission because it was absolutely terrible. The assistants were ordered to come down to Beath and rail on us for not keeping rules. I have no idea why the heck they showed up. But anyways, they split us apart. Elder Lucas took Elder Noble into one room. Elder Johnson talked to me in the other room, and yeah, he you could tell he was ready to rail on like the rules and mission, do what's right, and he just stopped and was like, "You haven't done anything wrong." And just the complete change of atmosphere of what you could tell he was ordered to say versus what he said was night and day difference. He just stopped and was like, "You've done nothing wrong. The Spirit confirms that of all the missionaries in the mission, the Lord can trust you." And that I guess he was ordered to say that, and that both him and President Griffiths that was all within the span of like a week. Completely changed my opinion, and that's why I stuck it out. Which now, looking back, I'm incredibly glad that I did.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Let me just throw my phone for a second. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, with President Griffiths, he you could tell that he knew how to follow the Spirit through some of his zone conferences. He talked a lot about a punji trap. That was his big thing while I was there, and that at given points of your mission, everybody's going to fall. Everybody's going to have a hard time, and everybody's going to have to work together to help each other. And that was kind of the motivational thing that he said there. In the final president's interview, he asked me what my goals in life were. What my plans were, what I was going to do after my mission. I told him I planned to be an airline pilot, and he basically struck that down with an absolute lightning that you would never believe, and so talked me out of being an airline pilot. He explained that being an airline pilot, you don't have time for family, you don't have time for marriage. Family life absolutely gets obliterated, and so to make it to heaven, you have to be married, and so you're not going to make it there if you're an airline pilot. And so,
man, that's rough.
Yeah. So what my plans of becoming in life just went out the window. And so I was then told that I wouldn't find my wife in a bar, which to this day still bothers me. Because I will never set foot in a bar. Like that whole concept of bars does not bode well with me. How people associate me and bar in the same sentence, I don't know. Yeah, that made absolutely no sense to me. Then I was told to go to BYU, and then my dad talked me into going to I screwed up university, and so that didn't happen. So everything that I was told didn't really benefit me for nothing. And so yeah, now yeah, that didn't go over very well. So fun thing with the airplane ride, yeah, but yeah, that was interesting. It still bothered me to this day. I was like, you won't find your wife in a bar. You got some guy that follows the scriptures to an extreme zealot level, where he's more into studying about archons than worrying about the flavor of some retarded drink. Um, okay. Anyways, so last little story there for going home. I left Aberdeen and got to the mission home, and rather than going to sleep, we just stayed up all night. And so we were all hiked up on Iron Brew and that's also the first time I had actually drank caffeine in my life. So I was way out hiked up on it. Yeah. So here's this extremist Mormon from Idaho, so into following rules he's never drank caffeine, and you won't find your wife in a bar. But anyways, so didn't sleep there at the mission home that night. Went up Pratt's Hill, finished the mission, whatnot. Then time to hit the plane, and so we stayed up that night, grabbed our luggage. Somebody stole my Tie-Tack in the mission home that day. Bothers me, but anyways, got to the airport and go to check in, and check in. I'm the first one in line, surprisingly enough, and so they X-ray my bag. Everything's good. I'm first one in line out of all of the elders and sisters that were there. As we're leaving, there's this path going to the airplane, and I just get this prompting: run like there's no tomorrow. And so, I have 3 pieces of luggage, and I'm just bolt running as fast as I can go down this path leading to the airplane. And as I get there, there's the stairs going up to the plane, and the voice says, "Get up there and shove your hand in the door." And they're closing the door on the airplane to go. And so I run up there and I just jam my hand into the door, and the lady's like, "What the heck?" I just hear this voice of, "What is going on?" And she opens up the door, flight attendant, like ready to shut, lock, and fly off. And I was like, you got about 12 more people leaving or getting on this plane. And I was like, okay, that works. And so we all made it onto the plane because I was the first one in line. Clear as a whistle through the whole screening in process, and first one in line, get there, and because I happened to be the first one in line, we made the plane without getting left. Because that door, like the last person got on, that door was sealed, and that plane was off the ground within like 12-15 seconds. And so yeah, a little bit of a miracle there that we made it to the plane. Then the next part, so we fly into France. So we went to Paris International Airport from Edinburgh. So Edinburgh to Paris, get into Paris, and I guess people didn't like me, but so we get in there, and my carry-on bag is the one that they run through the screening in France. And through the screening, the X-ray machine, like alarms and sirens start going off. Like she like reaches over and hits this panic button. Yeah, I see like security guards start popping up their heads out of windows and stuff, like, "Hang on a second, something's about to get real." And the X-ray shows this gigantic pair of scissors, like what a grandma uses to cut through a quilt with. Like it is like small sword level scissors that are in my luggage. And I was just like, I've never seen these before. These aren't mine. You want them? And she gladly was like, "I'll take these." Takes out this sword-sized pair of scissors and puts them out of reach. I'm like, "That's fine. I don't care. I've never seen them before in my life. I don't carry scissors." But on that note, like the X-ray and screening process in Edinburgh did not pick up this solid steel sword in my luggage. Which, if it had, I wouldn't have made the plane for us to all get out.
Wow.
And so that was an interesting, interesting setup there. Then, so flew from Paris over across Greenland and Canada down to Salt Lake, and caught a plane. Said bye to all the elders there. I guess most of them were from Utah, so their families were like all there to pick them up. Then went from there back up to Pocatello and was back to roofing the very next day. I always found it humorous with the people on the street talking to them, where they'd be like, "What are you doing here? You're wasting the best years of your life. This is where the prime of your life. You're wasting being here." All the typical discouraging arguments, and me sitting there in the back of my head going, "Yeah, the difficult time of my life. Sure, back home I'm roofing. I'm burning to death in the summer, freezing to death in the winter, and they're telling me to go home. No, thanks, I'll stay here."
Oh man. Well, you've taken us on quite an epic journey, Tyrell. I can tell you that. It sounds like you had some epic highs and some epic lows that were part of your experience in Scotland, and hopefully those things have definitely been for the betterment of you. And so we appreciate you coming on tonight. Is there anybody that you want to call out as one of our avid listeners that you want to hear from in the future? Beyond, we haven't talked to any of your companions. We'd love to have them on, so
Yeah.
definitely invite them. But anybody else that you'd love to hear from as we continue in our efforts to get people on the podcast?
Let's see. Elder Fourth was an interesting one. Elder Cody Rouche.
Okay.
He was one of the district leaders while I was in Beath. He was one of the better district leaders of my mission. Stephen Warby.
Okay.
He was a zone leader while I was in Aberdeen. Elder Munden's got to have some crazy, interesting stories.
Okay.
Let's see. Elder Ho, Wing Chen Ho. He's currently in Hong Kong.
Okay.
My headset just died. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. Can you hear us okay still?
Set to my backup headset. Sorry, I got to set to my
You're good.
backup headset. Okay.
You're good.
Elder Wing Chen Ho. So while I was in Glasgow, he was the Chinese missionary. He baptized so many people of Mandarin and Cantonese descent that he changed it from a group of Chinese people to a Chinese branch while I was there.
Yeah, we've heard his name before, and we'd love to get him on. I've reached out to him in some regards, but we'll continue to try and get in touch with him for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, he was there the entire time that I was in Glasgow. See, Elder Kofed.
Okay.
He was Elder Ho's companion. He went down to Johnston. He was like one of the first missionaries to baptize in Johnston in months. I also heard that he was like in the bishopric of some ward somewhere in Scotland. So he's got to have a lot of really interesting stories to tell there.
Cool.
Let's see. Let's see. You already talked to Sister Corka and Sister Ott. They were sisters
Yep.
while I was in Aberdeen.
That's right.
Let's see. There's Sister Spackman. She was the third one in their companionship. She was from Idaho.
Okay.
Let's see. Elder Grantham. Wayland Grantham.
Yeah.
He, yeah, when we had the whole whitewashing out of Kilmarnock, I guess he was the one moved in. Somehow he ended up there at the very end of Kilmarnock. So he got to deal with all the fun that went on there. Yeah, I guess the recent convert got herself excommunicated and tried to take one of the members with her, and yeah, that was a full fun event that I did not know about until later.
Well, we'll see if Waylon can put some understanding to
light
that.
on that
That'd be a good one.
subject. Yeah,
Yeah, for
that'd
sure.
be interesting to find out what happened there after I was gone. Let me think. My trainer Mark Noble. He trained another guy before me named Spencer Chatland.
Yeah, we've been in touch with Spencer. We haven't been able to line up our schedules yet, but he has expressed interest in coming on, so we'll keep working on him.
Okay. Yeah.
Your
more or less, I
your
really
mission
just want to
brother.
know. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to know. I'd like to learn Elder Noble's backstory as to who hurt him.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he's got to have some really good, interesting stories. 'Cause, yeah.
For sure. Cool.
Trying to think who else. I was never in Edinburgh. I didn't know anybody there. Somewhere, these two missionaries that I didn't know of, gave me a copy of the Apocrypha while I was in Aberdeen. Like, hey, we heard you're into interesting scripture. Here's your copy of the Apocrypha, and it's like a hardbound book version of it that has like Maccabees 3 and 4. So I think that was like Elder Kuhn and Elder Loins.
Hmm.
Elder Loins was in he was in Ayr while I was in Kilmarnock. He was a pretty funny guy, so he's got to have some pretty good stories there.
Okay. Cool. Well, you've given us a pretty good list. If there's any others that come up as you're listening, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to add to the list as well. More than anything, Tyrell, we just want to express to you our love. We're so grateful that you're one of our brothers from the Scotland Edinburgh Mission. Thank you for being an avid listener and enjoying our podcasts. We can't do this without your participation as well as your listening ear. So we're glad that we could provide some entertainment on your drives around during your work hours. So, but in any case, we truly are appreciative of your time tonight, and we will certainly be in touch more soon. But we just want to express to you again how much we love you, and we'll certainly be in touch, and we'll give you a cheerio. Sound good?
Yeah. Just off the top of my head, thinking from when I was in Aberdeen, there's another guy. His name is Patrick Tomaszewski. He was in Aberdeen while I was there.
Okay.
I actually talked to him on the phone about a year ago.
Sweet. Send him our way. We'd love to have him.
Yeah. So yeah, the only people I've talked to that I've been able to get a hold of from the mission field is Elder Souter and Elder Tomaszewski. Everybody else is nobody uses Facebook anymore, so real hard to get a hold of anybody.
I can second that. It's definitely a challenge, but ultimately, somebody will trip upon a message from us once in a while and come and participate like you have tonight. So don't hesitate to share the podcast with anybody you come across. I'm sure that they'll enjoy listening as much as you have.
All right.
All right, brother. Well, we'll say goodnight to you and we'll talk more soon. All right.
Thanks, Tyrell.
Yeah.
Cheerio.
Have a great day.
All right. Bye.
We'll see. Yeah.